Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a hidden force that's secretly dictating, well, your life choices, your future security, and, believe it or not, the stability of the entire global economy. That force? Financial literacy.
Okay, let's jump right in and test your knowledge. Imagine you've got $100 sitting in a savings account, and it's earning a 2% interest rate every single year. After 5 years, if you just leave that money alone to grow, how much do you think you'd actually have? More than $102? Exactly 102? Or less than 102? Just keep your answer in the back of your mind.
Now we're going to add a little twist here. Inflation. So imagine your savings account pays a 1% interest rate per year, but inflation is running at 2% per year. After a year goes by, how much would you actually be able to buy with the money in that account? More than today? Exactly the same, or less than today.
All right, the final piece of our little mini test. True or false? Buying a single company's stock usually provides a safer return than buying a stock mutual fund. Take a quick second to lock in your final answer. So, here's the crucial point. These specific questions, which are known as the Big Three, weren't just designed to make you feel like you're stuck in a high school math class. They were actually created back in the early 2000s by researchers Anna Maria Losardi and Olivia Mitchell to measure basic financial knowledge. And what they found was, honestly, pretty shocking. They uncovered a massive global lack of understanding when it comes to fundamental financial concepts. To put this into perspective, only about a third of adults worldwide can correctly answer these basic questions. Even in the United States, comprehension of things like compounding interest and risk diversification was incredibly low. And after the 2008 financial crash, this research suddenly became absolutely urgent for policymakers all over the world.
Section 1. Beyond the math test. The true definition of financial literacy. Because financial literacy isn't just about passing a quiz or memorizing some jargon. Let's see how this builds into something way more profound for our everyday lives. The OECD, that's the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, defines financial literacy as way more than just raw intelligence or knowing what a bond is. They see it as a combination of awareness, knowledge, skill, attitude, and behavior. It's essentially a holistic, multidimensional toolkit that you need not just to survive, but to truly thrive and achieve individual financial well-being in our modern society.
And they actually use a really specific formula to measure all of this. It goes like this. Financial literacy equals financial knowledge plus financial behavior plus financial attitude. You literally need all three of these components working together. Let's break down exactly why.
This dynamic introduces what researchers call the infamous knowing-doing gap. You see, financial knowledge is what you know, like acing that Big Three test we just did. But financial behavior, that's what you actually do. Because the fascinating truth is, knowledge doesn't automatically translate into responsible action. It's exactly why knowing how a budget works doesn't always stop you from buying that ridiculously expensive iced coffee on a Tuesday morning. Simply understanding how compound interest works doesn't magically stop people from making impulsive credit card purchases or failing to pay their bills on time. So, tying that knowledge and behavior together is the third piece of the puzzle, and that is your financial attitude. This is basically your psychological tendency to think about the future. Do you actively plan your expenses? Do you build up precautionary savings for a rainy day? Your attitude is the engine that actually drives you to take your financial knowledge and apply it through positive behaviors over the long haul.
Section 2. Micro choices, macro impacts. From the individual to the system. Now that we've got a solid grip on what financial literacy truly is on a personal level, let's zoom out. We're going to look at how these micro choices snowball into massive macroeconomic consequences.
So, why are we talking about this so much lately? Well, the urgency to address financial literacy is absolutely skyrocketing. The heavy lifting of financial responsibility has shifted massively from the state or your employer directly onto you. Everyday people are now solely responsible for complex, often irreversible decisions, like managing their own pensions. Throw on a rising life expectancy, which means our money has to stretch a lot further, and an incredibly digitalized world where you can make high-risk trades from an app on your phone in a matter of seconds. It's a lot to handle.
And the consequences of falling behind are severe. It deeply reinforces economic inequality and leaves specific groups highly vulnerable. Women, for instance, often face lower market participation and build up less long-term wealth. Young people face greater economic vulnerability right out of the gate. Meanwhile, migrants and small business owners are exposed to unequal market access and higher financial fragility. When you lack financial literacy, you become vastly more susceptible to predatory lending, fraud, and ultimately poverty. Notice how quickly this problem escalates. It starts at step 1 with individual risk and poor choices, like taking on a loan you don't fully understand. That leads straight to step 2, household fragility. Because when households are fragile, they just can't weather unexpected financial shocks. This then ripples outwards to step 3, causing inefficient capital allocation and excessive leverage in the broader market. And finally, step 4, systemic financial instability. A personal financial mistake, multiplied by millions of people making similar mistakes, can literally shake the entire economy.
Which brings us to this terrifying yet totally vital realization. Financial literacy is quite literally a micro-foundation of our financial institutions. The entire global financial infrastructure, the stability of our credit markets, our banks, our investment firms, it all rests heavily on the foundation of everyday people actually understanding what they are doing with their money.
Section 3. Policy responses, education or regulation. If widespread financial illiteracy is dangerous enough to crash credit markets and destabilize the economy, how on earth are policymakers supposed to fix it? Well, governments around the globe are actively fighting back, and they're leaning heavily into education as their main policy tool. They're launching huge national financial education strategies, they're implementing school-based programs to catch kids early, and they're running widespread public awareness campaigns. A really great example of this kind of coordinated effort is the Italian Committee for Financial Education, which was set up in 2017 specifically to systematically improve the financial well-being of its citizens. But I want to leave you with this final, crucial question to ponder. We've seen that knowledge alone doesn't always change behavior, right? We still have that pesky knowing-doing gap. So, if human behavior is so stubbornly hard to change, and if financial mistakes have such massive systemic implications, is teaching people financial literacy ever really going to be enough? Or do we ultimately need regulators to step in with stricter rules and guardrails to save us from ourselves? It's a really complex balance between personal autonomy and systemic protection. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.